Good morning, everybody. This is Eric Hayden from the National Weather Service in Newport, Morehead City. It's just about 9 o'clock. I know we got a few others logging on, so I'll stall just a little bit. As I do that, just a reminder to keep your lines muted. You all are doing an outstanding job with that. That way, if we had any technical issues, I can hear from you. Otherwise, I'd have to mute the lines. Just like yesterday, I'll go through our briefing. You should all have had this in your email about 7:45 or so. We sent it out this morning. Shane sent this out. So you should have a full version of this in your email. I'll go through some select slides here over the next 5 minutes, and then we'll turn it over to you for questions. All right. Nothing hurt, so we'll get going. One of the biggest changes overnight was to increase snowfall totals, especially inland, and bump up the timing a little earlier with the arrival of snow today. As far as impacts go on when it sticks, that hasn't changed much, and I'll talk more about that here in a second. So our summary of greatest impacts up to the significant level for snow and hazardous travel. That's a change from yesterday with the increased confidence that most of us will see snow, and there'll be some higher totals, especially inland. And we'll talk more about that here, like I said, in just 1 second. We do have a winter storm warning in effect that replaces the watch that we had yesterday. So those areas in pink stand the best chance for the heaviest snowfall amounts, and winter weather advisories even down along the coast where amounts will be lower. At this point, we do not expect accumulating snows on Ocracoke or Hatteras Island, especially from Lake Rodanthe southward. As far as snowfall amounts go, if you've watched the last couple of days, we showed that worst case scenario, and we're trending toward the higher amounts, especially inland. So generally speaking, 4 to 6 inches north of New Bern. So Lenoir County, Kinston, Snow Hill, Greenville, Williamston, north and east over toward Columbia, Belhaven, those areas. That is where we think the most snow will fall. Farther south, increased totals by about an inch or so. So we're going coating to 1, Crystal Coast, Southern Onslow, Morehead City area, Carteret County. Now it's coating to 2 inches possible. Still thinking we'll see some snowflakes on the central and southern outer banks, but the temperatures will be well above freezing, so we do not anticipate any snowfall there. This is our reasonable or our most likely official forecast. We do anticipate some heavier bands to set up. Knowing exactly where those bands set up is really nothing you can predict until they set up on radar. That's why I'll show you again our reasonable worst case scenario to highlight that a little bit more. But our official forecast is 4 to 6 inland, again, mainly from New Bern northward. As far as the timing for the changeover to snow, we've tweaked this by an hour or so, but it hasn't changed much in terms of impacts. This is when we think the snowflakes will first start to mix in. So Kinston, Belhaven, north and west. Yes, you'll see that transition from rain to snow after 4 o'clock. However, for about 99.9% of our area, we expect that the temperatures, surface temperatures will remain above freezing through dark. So we still do not anticipate any problems, and certainly not major problems on the roads through dark. Temperatures will be too warm. Yes, you'll be seeing snow, but any accumulations initially will be on grassy surfaces. As we get through tonight, the snow will pick up and the temperatures will fall. That is when we anticipate the biggest problems on the roadways, and that could continue right into rush hour on Friday. The end time for the snow is now, a little bit later in the morning Friday than daybreak, so please keep that in mind. So that transition to snow graphic we're showing you, again, that's when we expect the snow to first start mixing in, not necessarily start accumulating right away. And I'm going to hop out of the presentation at the end to show you what I mean in terms of surface temperatures. Before I do that, one thing, Carl, one of our forecasters had an excellent point to make. Prior to the snow, we do anticipate rain. So keep that in mind with any roadway treatments. They're likely to be washed away. We've seen this before back in 2018 where we had rain to snow. So unfortunately, that's, we don't get into the treatment stuff. We're certainly not experts with that. But as far as a meteorological standpoint, we're going to have rain prior to the snow, so the roadways will be wet, washing a lot of that off. This is our reasonable worst case scenario. We appreciate any feedback on that, especially after the storm itself. This is a graphic that has been developed over the last couple of years for a situation like this. If we're going to see heavier bands of snow, it's most likely Trenton, Kinston, New Bern, northward. So our 4 to 6 inches is our official forecast, but isolated areas could see up to 9 inches. This is what you would prepare for in a reasonable worst case scenario. This is our 1 in 10 chance that we'll see some heavier banding. Another thing you can get out of this graphic is, hey, Onslow County, Carteret County, could we see this drastic of a change? Probably not. Our reasonable worst case scenario is still around 2 inches of snow. It's not to entirely rule it out, but it's to really say that if we're going to be see higher snowfall totals in our area, it's most likely Snow Hill, Greenville, Washington, Williamston, that northern and western part of our forecast area. So it's not all about snow. We're going to have a persistent north to northeast wind, and that's going to pile up the water on the southern end of the Pamlico Sound. So we do have a coastal flood advisory for down east Carteret County, the lower part of the Neuse River, Ocracoke, and also Hatteras Island south of Buxton. This is a sound side issue. At this point, it doesn't look major. We're thinking 1 to 2 feet above dry ground, so that's inundation in normally dry areas, low-lying areas adjacent to the Pamlico. That would be later this evening through tomorrow evening. So again, we're going to see those water level rises and then perhaps some minor coastal flooding issues in the areas highlighted in green. We mentioned strong winds. We'll skip by the wind advisory and just go to the map itself. Generally speaking, 20 to 30 mile per hour winds. The snow is going to be very clingy, very wet. It's going to stick to everything. And because of that, when you increase the wind speed, we may have some scattered power outages, especially down toward the coast itself. It will also reduce visibility when the snow falls heavier later tonight. In addition, the strongest winds will be along the coast, and it's out of the north-northeast. So again, that's going to pile up the water, especially sound side, the southern end of the Pamlico Sound. Lastly, the snow will end Friday morning. We'll get above freezing on Friday. We will do some melting. However, anything wet, slushy, Friday evening will freeze quickly. So we are expecting a refreeze. This is going to be most likely farther inland where we see the snow. Hopefully along the coast, if we see an inch, we can get rid of it, get the sun out, dry things out. But if we don't, whatever, again, is on the ground or on the roads and is wet, it's going to freeze up Friday night. So please hammer that home with your local counties. Lows in the upper teens to around 20. That's going to cause everything to freeze up yet again as we get into Friday night. So that is it. I'm going to hop out of this and show you the hourly weather graph again before I turn it over to you for questions. As far as briefings go, I know a lot of you probably have to make decisions now, so that's why we wanted to do the 9 a.m. one. We will send another PDF. We say by 5 to give us a buffer, but you've probably noticed it's been by about 3 or 3:30 in the afternoon. We will have that second or our last and third webinar, verbal one, will be today at 3 o'clock. So definitely come, stick around for that. I'm going to hop out to the website again just to hammer this home. There's a lot of great information on our website. Please call the office if you have any questions. We don't mind taking questions, but we want you to make sure you know how much information is on the website itself. The briefing itself is at the top. Like I said yesterday, if you click on the winter page, if you need to show the decision makers in your county, why you're saying certain things, this is our winter page. I like to click on range. We don't like snowfall forecast to an inch. We like to give us a little bit of a buffer. So change it over to range, and that's our official forecast right now. Again, you can enlarge it, save it, share it, whatever you need to do. That's our most likely scenario. Here's the 1 in 10 chance. Again, if we're going to see those heavier bands of snow, roughly Trenton, New Bern, north and west. And the other thing that's really nice is now we're starting to see, for you folks inland, you're going to see snow. Our 90% confidence is a couple inches of snow. So is it going to happen? Yes, especially inland. But down at the bottom, some very nice graphics, percent chance of more than 2 inches, more than 4 inches. And again, as you kind of hover above these, you can see that, where our most confidence is for that snowfall really hammers in the northern and western part of the area. Lastly, on our website itself, I know I talked to Barry up in Greene County yesterday, and he was a big fan of it. You can click anywhere on the map, or you can enter your city or zip code in the upper left. And when you scroll down the page after doing that, you just want to click on hourly weather forecast. So I just randomly clicked east of Kinston. I'm going to scroll down, and you want to click on this hourly forecast. I already preloaded one for northern Greene County up by Bethel, or northern Pitt County, excuse me. I unchecked everything I didn't care about. I left temperature, wind, and snow on there. And you can see from the graph, we're still about 35 at 4 o'clock, but the northern part of our area does get to around freezing after dark. So these are the types of things you can see from a decision-making level when the wind picks up and when the heaviest snowfall amount is between 7 and 1 a.m. up there. So at this point, I will turn it over to you. Feel free to ask any questions. If you don't get the answer, that you're looking for, just call us at any time today. We'll be happy to answer those questions.